Digital Kung Fu has launched Dreamers Dojo to support entrepreneurial mindsets at schools. According to Matt Brown, an entrepreneur and founder of Digital Kung Fu, if the youth want to be financially independent, then an entirely different mindset is required. Entrepreneurship is the best vehicle for making that happen. The only challenge is that entrepreneurship is rarely, if ever, taught in schools. That's in South Africa. So to hear more on this, Matt now joins us in studio. Welcome to Change Your Game, Matt.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good morning.
So give us a bit of background on yourself as an entrepreneur, and then we'll talk about Digital Kung Fu.
Sure. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I founded 9 companies over the last 25 years or so.
You don't even look that old.
No, thank you. I get that a lot. You must see when I'm clean shaven. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get the baby face comes out. But yeah, I've 6 of those failed. I paid a lot of high prices for my success. And then 2 I sold, and this third one is probably another one that's likely to be sold at some point in the future. So, but basically, I'm all about business and people, and really trying to share a message of hope and perspective that that you can do it regardless of what your background is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Digital Kung Fu, what is it?
Digital Kung Fu builds sales and marketing pipelines for technology businesses. We're not an agency. We're very much a performance marketing business. In other words, we create top of funnel leads or leads for technology businesses like Microsoft, First Distribution, and a lot of other really big technology companies. If we're not doing that, then we're doing something called accounts-based marketing, where we go after enterprise clients, so banks, security companies, stuff like that. And so we're very much one of the leaders in the space. So we were recently voted the best tech startup in Africa by the Africa Tech Week Awards about a month ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've quadrupled in size in the last 6 months, and we're opening offices in Texas in America and then in the UK over the next sort of 12, 18 months.
What inspired that, Texas?
America's just massive. I lived in America for 2 years, probably about 8 years ago. And America's just incredible. Like, you don't really appreciate the scale of it until you're there.
Yeah.
It puts your own paradigm in perspective. So we've got a client in New York called Forward Lane. So we went over there and we shot a Netflix-style series, which is now on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
But when you're there, you realize how insignificant your problems feel when you're walking on the streets of New York, or when you're walking in a place like Austin, Texas, which is the second largest tech hub after Silicon Valley. You realize actually just how big America is.
Yeah.
And so for us, it's about chasing the dream of, taking an African brand and an African story to the US, because it's always the other way around.
Yeah,
It's the
exactly.
colonialists coming here and doing their thing here. And so that's pretty much what we want to do, is actually put a peg in the sand and say, Africa can compete with the best in the world.
Absolutely. So the podcast that you started out, which aligned with your business, and then that became the Matt Brown Show after rebranding. Tell us about that.
So it started off as the Digital Kung Fu Show. So our business has pivoted, meaning it's changed its business model completely 3 times, trying to find a spot and a place in a market that we can own. And thankfully we found that. So that took some time. It took 3 years to get to where we are today. And there's an old saying that it takes 15 years to make a quick buck, and it's absolutely true. I think a lot of young entrepreneurs are impatient. I'm very impatient, and it's something I've had to learn. It takes a very long time to become an overnight success.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so the podcast was an instrumental piece in this whole story, because it's become a personal branding tool. It's become a networking tool. I've built a huge network all around the world through just having conversations like this. Tell me about you. What's your story? How have you built that really big $1 billion business, or whatever the case is, And how did you overcome that challenge? What was it like to be locked up for 10 years for a murder you didn't commit? These are human stories for an exponential time. And part of that is actually not about digital kung fu. It's about personal branding. And so what I've learned is that you need to be building your business brand, which is digital kung fu, and you need to be building your brand as the entrepreneur. So the insight there very simply is this, is that people buy people, first, and then the product and service. It's always that way, especially in the B2B space or the business to business space where we play, which is it's all about people.
Yeah.
It's all people. And so a podcast is affordable, it's scalable, it's an attention that you own. You're not at the whims of algorithms on Facebook or LinkedIn or any other kind of social media platform. It's like no one will ever compete with me on my podcast ever.
Yeah.
It's impossible. Do you know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing.
And how do you come up with your ideas, though? I mean, you got quite a lot to come up with 9 businesses and to do what you do.
So it comes from within you. I mean, I'll tell you, those 6 failures came from 2 things. One, trying to think that the market needs something and then trying to build that thing. In other words, you don't really know. And then the second thing is from quitting. Things get real. People, a reason why we started the Dreamers Dojo, which you touched on earlier, is simply because I want to expose aspiring young entrepreneurs from Africa and all around the world and expose them to the realities of being a businessman. I mean, it's like Jay-Z said, I'm not a business, I'm a businessman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it takes a certain type of character to become that type of person.
Yeah.
As I say, entrepreneurship is something that anyone can do, but it's not for everyone. It's hard. It's lonely. People, that's the story you're not told. The media are very quick to say, front cover of Entrepreneur Mag, great friends of mine,
Yeah.
the team there.
Is
But
it?
yeah, for sure. They...
Because we celebrate when people are, like
We
getting
do.
the awards that you're getting and when you've established yourself, but never really at the beginning stages.
But the thing is, people seem to think it happens quickly. It's like
Yeah.
you read the headline on the front cover of a magazine and it's like from 0 to 500 million in 5 years. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and people think failure isn't part of that story. It's like,
Yeah.
oh no, he just didn't fail and he made it.
Yeah.
And so when you start executing on your dreams and you fail, you take that personally. I mean, I did that. That was a mistake. When a business fails, you don't fail. The business failed. It's not you. The business failed. And that's a very important distinction. And whenever I failed in business, I thought it was me. And so I took that personally. I was like, oh, well, failure is not something that you do to become a success, but it is. It's like what I think one of the things I speak about in the Dreamers Dojo, which is say, like, if you're not failing every single day, you're not having a good day. Because you've got 2 types of entrepreneurs. You get the first type, which doesn't want to fail ever. And that person will always be broke. Okay? The person that's hungry for failure every single day will grow faster, he will learn faster, and he will become more competitive. He will out-execute everybody else who doesn't want to fail. And so failure is sexy. But at school, and this is the issue, or the opportunity also, is that at school, failure is bad. Like if you don't get good grades, like you get detention and you get, parents have a thing or two to say to you, you got to improve. But actually it's pointless. It doesn't matter. Like, a mindset of entrepreneurship is totally different to the mindset of becoming employed or seeking to become employed. And that's the tension, is that the schooling system was fantastic for a time where we were on this linear path where it was like you can go and work for a mining company, you can go and work for a bank, you can go and work for someone, the job. But what's happening now is that technology, exponential technology specifically, like AI and robotics, process automation, etc., is going to automate 1 billion jobs in the next 10 years. That's 1/5 of the world's population. So if you think that going to school and leaving school is going to get you your financial independence, you're probably wrong. And my point of view very simply is this, that you need to be changing the way you think about being relevant, because it is all about being relevant tomorrow, not today, right? It's like, if you're not becoming relevant, and there's such a huge discussion to have about how you do that, etc., and this is really what the Dreamers Dojo is there to do, is to discuss with the youth and the youngsters and to say, listen, what does the idea of exponential relevance mean to me?
Yeah.
You know, when robots are running literally pretty much everything, call centers to job applications to recruitment to literally, there's no industry that's not going to be touched by this.
Yeah.
Like, how do you play with those technologies to create financial independence and to achieve the dreams that you want to achieve for yourself, but also to leave a legacy for your community that
Yeah.
you come from?
The Dreamers Dojo, how does it work? Do people apply to be a part of it, or you choose the schools?
So the structure of the program works like this. So there's a number of different scenarios here, but one works like this. It's a 3-day intervention.
Mm-hmm.
The first step is to go out to all the schools across South Africa and say, listen, you're going to submit a team of 4 students. They must come from a maths, engineering, science, or business studies background to compete with 30 other teams from other schools around the country. And the ages are from 16 to 21, somewhere around there. And then they come to a location, and then we walk them through on the first day. It's a 3-day thing. So the first day is all around, what does exponential relevance mean in the real world? What are the exponential technologies that are shaping the future and the current state of business? What do you need to know? The second day is all about principles, human principles for an exponential time. These are the principles that I write about in my book. They're from interviews I've conducted with other highly successful people. Basically, it becomes the operating system of your mind. How do you make decisions regardless of what's happening around you? And then the third day is where we actually hack real-world African problems. And then the kids work together, supported by a faculty of exponential technology experts from Singularity University, for example. And then they are coached and they are mentored, and then the winning team has a product idea which is then funded and taken to market. And then they also go to America, as an example, to Singularity University there to get exposed to how first world economies are working with these kind of things.
So how do people get a hold of you?
They can go to dreamersdojo.com or hello@dreamersdojo.com.
So finally, your legacy, what do you want that to be?
Great question. The legacy, very simply, is this. 2 things. One, it's about becoming. Like, life is always about becoming. There's the person that you are today, there's the person that you are tomorrow, and the person that you could be next month and next year. You're always becoming something else. And then the second thing is to leave a legacy around help, because no entrepreneur is an island. No successful person is by virtue of their own skills and attitude of success on their own. That's not true. They always need help. And the only problem that we find is that people don't want to ask for it. I'm guilty as charged. You know what I mean? So it's about encouraging and inspiring people to become more, to think bigger, and then to leave a legacy of help for other people to take and, and basically to make their own.
Thank you so much for coming through and chatting to us here on Change Your Game, Matt.
Thanks for having me.
And I mean, all the best with all that you do. It's amazing stuff. Matt Brown is an entrepreneur and founder of Digital Kung Fu, also Dreamers Dojo. They also won at the Africa Tech Week Awards, so doing great stuff. Stay with us here on Channel Africa. And we are coming to you from our Johannesburg studios in South Africa. My name is Asanda Beda.